this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. We're going to actually take a break from the amazing guests we've had over the last several weeks, and we're going to dive right into getting ready for 2020 and making sure that this will be your best year yet. So what I'm going to do is take you through 7 steps that you can take to make sure you're positioned for this next year to maximize your commissions, your fees, your production, whatever it might be. These 7 steps have been crafted over working with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, small business owners, folks just like you that want to go out and make sure that every year they grow. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about what these 7 steps are, and then I'll take more detail into each one. Step number 1, we're going to want you to review. From a transaction standpoint, we'll dive into that. Step number 2, more of an activity review. What exactly have you done over the last 12 months and the impact of that? Step number 3, once you've identified those things, let's reflect. Let's do some reflection on the activities and transactions we completed. Step 4, restriction. This is a big one. What held you back? Could be physical issues, could be mental issues, could be emotional issues, could be team issues, could be, I understand some market issues, but really, what's holding you back? Step number 5 is the repositioning. Looking back and repositioning yourself to make next year your best year yet. Step 6, reaffirmation, commitment, affirming where you're going to go, setting the vision. And finally, step number 7, the refinement. It's great to set a goal, but how do we set the steps, the action steps to achieve that goal? So these are the 7 steps we'll be exploring over the next several sessions of the Massimo Show. So get ready, get a pen and paper. Oh, and by the way, we're actually going to give you access to a workbook to help you through this process. And I'll get to that in a few minutes. So if you're getting ready to make 2020 your best year yet, let's take that next step and move forward. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. The objective of the Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal, professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we're going to bring you the expert advice from a variety of authors, consultants, and thought leaders who will provide the tools you need to maximize your own personal and professional margin. Welcome to the Massimo Show. Okay, welcome back to the Massimo Show. This is Rod Santomassimo, and I'm going to share with you some key steps you need to do and break them down to let's get in a position to make next year your best year yet. And let's start with step number 1. That's the transaction review. So where do we start? Well, of course, we start with the past. We review what you've done financially, actual transactions you completed, and all the elements of those opportunities. And once we get there, we can identify where you are going. Ideally, by now, you have a robust pipeline tool that you can quickly refer to, or at the very least, some transactional historical list, right? Now, if your pipeline is correct, this would share with you the key variables of the key trends, the opportunities which you can leverage next year. For example, for each opportunity that you worked on and hopefully closed, let's find a couple of things. Let's put them into buckets, right? So maybe what was the service you provided? Was it a sale? Was it a lease? Was it a financing? Was it a certain transaction? What was it that you did, right, for that bucket, that transaction? And think about where the opportunity was located. You break down your clients and think of what markets you serve for each individual transaction. Now, if you just work in one market, that's fine. Maybe there are sub-markets within the market that you served. Of course, I love you to look back at not just last year, but all years and think about when you close transactions. If you can go back as far as 3 to 5 years, wow, you have so much information to help you understand what you can do and the opportunities of moving forward. Think about the source. Where did you get this opportunity? Was it a cold call, prospect call, maybe a web lead, maybe a physical piece, maybe the same client you worked with in the past, maybe a client referral, or maybe a company referral, or networking? Where did you get that opportunity? What was the total value of the opportunity? Think about that. And look at your transaction activity in its first step. Think about the value of that activity. Yeah, that may mean for you the fee, the earnings, the revenue, the commission, whatever it might be. How did you earn it? How much was it? That's key as well. Finally, think about the client's motivation behind the transaction. Why did they transact? Why did they transact? Don't just focus on the external issues, making more money, faster sale or a lease, or whatever you transacted, right? The service you provided. What was it they were trying to achieve? Think of the internal issues. Was there a motivation behind it? Was there a health issue, a divorce issue, a partnership issue? Was it they just trying to gain something? What was it that allowed this transaction to happen? So think about all those when you review your transaction history. And from that, what we want to do is look at that and look at some trends that are going on, where buckets exist in your history transactionally that shows you opportunities of what's working. So for example, where were you having the most success? Maybe it was a certain market, a geography, or talk about location. Where are you finding the sources that you have the best opportunities? What sources are you not relying on? What sources are you not leveraging? That transactional history will share with you that. Also, what about the client? How many clients are you working with in those transactions? Are there client relationships that you've taken for granted? You haven't gone back and attempted to leverage? There's so much going on in your transactional history that this is a key place to start as far as setting up, right? To set up for the future. Yeah, let's take a look back, see where we've been, and go from there. So that's step one. Step one is transactional history. Congratulations. Let's move now to step two. And step two really is your activities, right? Your activities. So let's talk about your activities in itself. And more importantly, let's look at maybe your prospecting, your business development efforts. First of all, what was your financial goal for this year? And did you make that goal? And how much money did you take home? You know, there's something we should really care about. And that is, if you want to achieve something, what was the delta? It's amazing to me when I talk to clients and ask them how much they brought home. They say the words like about or around. You got to be kidding me, right? We should know how much money we are making or why we're working so hard. So understand those goals. Think about in returns of you to make sure you understand the financial ratios as far as activities you did that created the income or create the opportunity. Or is a certain number of prospect calls that led to prospect conversations, to meetings that left to opportunities that left to closings. Do you know your ratios? Activities are so key. I want you to understand your ratios. Also think about your clients when it comes to prospecting. Think about your top 5 clients. Now, when I say top 5 clients, okay, so I have these top 5 clients that made me the most money. That's fine, but I really wanted you to define the top 5. Look at it in a different way. No, not what the top 5 really means as far as what they provide you, but really the greatest opportunities moving forward. Which clients have you worked with so far and those activities that will give you opportunities moving forward. Think about that as well. And let's look at the prospecting side. Specifically, understand that prospecting is the disciplined act of asking for business. So how did you do as far as asking for business? Did you track your prospecting calls or your prospecting letters or your prospecting meetings? Depending on the service you're providing, you're prospecting in different ways. Again, prospecting is not presence. It's not marketing. It's actually asking for the business. Did you even send out prospecting letters? You should have a track and accounting of all these activities. Do you? If not, in the next year, let's make a commitment to start tracking your activities. Of course, what you do on activities will share with you what issues, opportunities, challenges, problems we have. And without keeping score, you never know if you're winning or not. Don't depend just on your gut. Now, the second part of activities in step 2, of course, is your personal marketing efforts, right? Now, as you know, at the Massimo show, we always talk about 3 specific levels of marketing or your personal presence. And that is personally, that's the networking side, the lunch side, the cocktail parties and the like. Physically, that's the tangible items you're sending out within your area of influence to the key influencers. And last but not least, digitally, hopefully you're doing that as well. the tweets, LinkedIn, absolutely, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever your audience may be, make sure you're there as well. So can you go back and have an accounting of how many business development, no, more important, presence meetings you had, personal marketing meetings, get to know influencers? Do you have a track of those? Do you have a track of how many times you send out a gift or some cards or anything physically? Do you have a track of those? And last, have you tracked your posts, your digital posts or your blogs or your vlogs? How often have you done that? And where have you seen success? Where have you seen potentially you driving traffic to your website or to a landing page? How is that impacted? Are you tracking? Are you putting forth pixels to get a tracking information on what's working, what's not? Look, information is available today when it comes to the digital space, but it's also available today when it comes to your personal marketing efforts for your networking sessions and your physical materials. As long as you're keeping score, as long as you're tracking your activities, absolutely, that's something you could do. And last but not least, when it comes to activities, one thing I would look at is time utilization. Now, I didn't say time management. We really don't believe that you can manage, per se, your time, but you simply can utilize time better. The way you shift your hours, allocate hours to do things that you know that have the greatest impact on your business. So what that might mean is, are you working hours that can provide you growth on your business, right? Strategic in nature, as well as the hours you're working in your business. Maybe that's the prospecting calls and other activities within the transactional sphere of your business, right? Are you tracking, allocating your time? I'm going to share with you how you can get a workbook to track all of this and make it easy for you and actually do it over a 7-day period, 1 day for each step. Well, now that we've looked at your transactions, right, and we've looked at your activities around those transactions, it's time to reflect. Yeah, we got to reflect. Let's take a comprehensive review of what you just did, right? And let's say, hey, you're starting to see what worked last year. Well, maybe that's good. That's great, in fact. But we're moving forward now and we're making progress, but we're not quite there. Before we can really set goals to say, I did this, you got to reflect. And what I mean by reflection is a couple of things. First thing is, I want you to define what met or exceeded your expectations this year. Let me understand that. What met and or exceeded your expectations this year. Now, don't go negative on me here. This is not the point to go negative. This is all positive. Maybe you utilized your time in a specific way and you really felt good about that, or your prospecting efforts were key, or you built your team. I want you to think about what you did. Perhaps you invested in yourself in some course or training or coaching. You know, that can be positive, what met or exceeded expectation. There's no limits here. Just make sure, what I ask you is, I want you to write down 5 items of what either met or exceeded your expectations. The second point of this is, now let's get some reflection on what didn't work out, right? What did not meet or exceed your expectations. Now, do not focus on the why. Don't focus on the why yet, why it didn't work. Just look at it more from an opportunity growth standpoint, right? We don't believe in negative opportunities. We just need to adjust. They're learning opportunities. Every failure is a chance to learn. But what I'd like you to do is track and write down 5 things that really didn't meet or exceed your expectations. Now, here's something I will share with you. If you don't have 5 things, it could very well be a reflection you're not trying hard enough new things, right? Consistent failure is a good thing. It means you're consistently trying new, different things. Think about that. So you should have 5, and I want any more than 5. Keep it short. 5 things. Okay. The third step is that I want you to let us know what were your 3 most productive activities. Think about what you did every day and where you were truly most productive in the activities you performed. Then I want you to list 3 things that you can say without a doubt, if I continue to do these 3 things, it will continue to grow my business and propel myself forward. Now, for example, where was your time best utilized? Where do you spend time where you were just in the zone? Or maybe there are times that you were doing things that maybe you didn't like to do, but they were very productive for you. Maybe it's prospecting calls, for example. And the fourth part of this third step, of course, is where were you least productive? What were your least productive activities? And I'm looking for 3. So think the opposite now. This is where you tend to say, yep, I know what I'm doing right now is unproductive. Great, I love it. Just identify it. But again, Just keep it down to 3. Don't go negative here in a big way. Keep it down to 3. Okay. So that's the reflection. 4 parts of reflection, right? First we did transactions, then we did activities, and now we're doing some reflection. But before we move forward, wouldn't this be a lot easier if you had a workbook to work you through each step every day? Well, in fact, we created a workbook just for this purpose. And that workbook, right, making this your best year yet, we're going to do that by offering to you on our website. So if you go to Massimo-Group, that's Massimo-group.com, right there on the site is there for you to download during this end of year period, the workbook that will help you propel yourself for the best year yet in 2020. Okay, that's fantastic. I'm now excited. You're probably downloading the workbook, but if not, if you're driving, if you're on a plane, obviously you're not going to download it right now, but I'm going to continue to move forward. Don't worry. Everything I'm sharing with you in this podcast, we're going to actually expand upon in the workbook, but I'm going to give you some valuable lessons, things to think about as you're cruising down the road, lying on the beach, whatever you're doing where you listen to your podcast. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and we always tell our coaching clients that knowing isn't doing. That's right. Don't kid yourself. In fact, in my new book, Don't Kid Yourself, Knowing Isn't Doing, Build the Business and Life You Desire, I lay out many of our Massimo methods that we share with our clients to help them transform their lives. My new book, Knowing Isn't Doing, is going through a soft launch that will happen in March of 2020, and then a big national launch in September 2020. For more information, check out knowingisn'tdoing.com. Okay, we're going to step number 4, and that is restriction. Restriction. What do I mean by restriction? Well, restriction sounds pretty negative, doesn't it? There are certainly things that held you back this year. And you know there are things that held you back. When you take a deep look, deep reflection on yourself, you should be able to identify some restrictions. Now, we did the reflection in step 3. Again, what was productive, what was not, what met expectations, what did not. And through that list of what held you back, what wasn't productive, or what did not meet your expectations, right? You should identify there are reasons why. And that's the why part here. So, for example, let's look at those 5 items that did not meet your expectations. And let's address why not. What was it? If it's important to you as an expectation that you set or a goal you set, why didn't it happen? Now, here's the thing. There are no excuses allowed. Yeah, but, or however, or this. No. You set expectations for yourself, and for whatever reason, you didn't meet them. It happens to all of us. Heck, it happens to me every day. But I want you to get out of the excuse mode and get to more of the learning mode so we can go on from there. So let's take an example. Let's say that you set an expectation to have 10 closed transactions of a certain type over a certain period. And instead, you only had 6, right? And you can say, well, maybe it was our marketing department. They didn't pull through. Or maybe that marketing department is you, right? Maybe they didn't produce the materials for you on time. But again, for a lot of you, you're solopreneurs, that's your issue, right? And that's an excuse. It really is, because if that's the reason that held you back, then it's you that needs to change, not the marketing department, if you have one, or not your marketing resources. It's you. So what can you have done about it? Could you have maybe outsourced instead some of those marketing issues? Could you have created a simple template, maybe your own proposals that you always use and leverage, but you never took the time to do that? Maybe you could or should be thinking, you know what? I'm not going to do all the marketing stuff. It's not worth my time, which, by the way, I agree. For most of you, all the marketing stuff isn't worth your time. And there's things you potentially could be doing a lot better. So here's the key. I just want you to think about it and think, what's holding you back? What's holding you back? Now, this is a really important step. This is a time where not only you reflect, but really you investigate you. Understanding why things didn't happen the way you expected, recognizing what you did internally to make it not happen. Once we do that, we recognize, heck, I can resolve that. I can fix that. I could change that, right? You have the power to change anything you want. You have the power to become the person you want to become. That's what we're really talking about here. So when you go back, look at steps 1, 2, and 3, this is time to really understand what's holding you back, right? So here are a few questions that may assist you in identifying the why. And again, I want you to be honest. I don't make any excuses. So here's things that may help you out. So why didn't you earn the amount of money that you target, the amount of income, fees, revenue? Why? Why didn't you meet your key prospecting targets that you planned on? Why? Why didn't you ask or be asked for more opportunities? Why didn't the market ask you to do more RFPs or more solicitations? Why? Could it potentially be because you're not knowing the market as well as you want to be? Okay. Why didn't you work more than 40 hours a week? Now, for some of you, that's not a problem. And again, we're talking about maximizing your income and maximizing your personal margin, your time, right? So more money, less time. So if you've reached a point where you're working less than 40 hours a week, some of you I know working 20 hours a week and making over $1 million plus. That is awesome. If you're happy, you're satisfied, fantastic. Others of you are making less than $100,000 and you're working 30 hours a week and asking, I don't understand why. Yes, I know we want to get to the point where your margin is maximized, but for some of you, it's time to really say, am I giving it my all to get to that point where I can, in fact, maximize my margin? You know, did you allocate the time in your calendars for all things you know you need to do, whether it be the prospecting calls or creating the marketing campaigns or find that new CRM? Maybe you need to read some books or build your team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I want you to be a little critical about yourself right now. It's not a bad thing. Constructive criticism, don't hurt yourself here. Don't blame yourself. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about constructive criticism helps us all grow. I love constructive criticism. There's some value, obviously, to what folks are telling me. Let's help apply that to myself or to our company. Let's help ourselves grow. Okay, well, that's a lot. Think about it. Review, transactional review, activity review, and of course, reflection. Reflect on what worked, what didn't, what met expectations, what did not. And finally, what held you back? What held you back? That's a lot of work to do. So much work, in fact. We're going to get to the next and final 3 steps in our next episode. Why? Because you got a lot of work to do. And to make it easier for you to do that work, just go to our website and download the 7 steps to your best year yet program. It's there for you. It's that download workbook. It's there for you at massimo-group.com. That's massimo-group.com. And I promise you that in our next episode, we'll get to those final key 3 steps to ensure that next year will be your best year yet. Well, until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Group. And I greatly appreciate you engaging in this session. And yeah, don't forget, share with your friends, share with your colleagues, share. Sharing could be the greatest gift of all. I look forward to talking to you all next time as we explore those final 3 steps to your best year yet. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in repositioning their and or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. We provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and chasing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, well, check us out at massimo.coach. That's massimo.coach.